All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Kel will catch up when he come on. I'm playing some music, y'all. There we go. All right, we're gonna start out how we normally start, with a little bit of music.
This is your boy, Black Jackson. And I just wanted to share something with you tonight. All over the world. It doesn't matter what city you live in. Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, or ATL. Keep the dreams to the sky. All around the world today, love's a need of love today. Oh, singing today. Let me see just to carry away. There's no to go. The need for love we can't ignore. Oh, this human life was made to cry and smile, yeah. But please realize we are all the same. Yes, we are. No matter where you go. They're all the same. All the same. No matter where you go. There will be ups and downs. To my little children crying out. Oh, see any frown, turn a smile. For my brother, please hold it down. We are created equal, this is true. That's good and evil, that's who you. The sun it shines on everyone. There's a million stars there is for one. Every we're all the same. We're all the same. No matter where you go. We're all the same. We're all the same. No matter where you go. If I'm sitting here tonight, all I can do is say everything. Just can't say it. Somebody call you. I'm the only one. We're all the same. Joint so fresh, you gotta Shazam it. Coming through loud and clear. It's powered 1, 2, jam. It's all perspective. Represent your comes to truth. Respecting you on those right around is what you chose. Perspective. It's just the point of view. The odds and the outcome based on how you move. It's all perspective. Represent your comes to truth. Respecting you on those right around is what you chose. Perspective. It's just the point of view. The odds and the outcome based on how you move.
All right, all right, all right. It's the perspective. We're here. Today is what, June 11th, 2020. We're all still alive. Look like we're still doing our social distancing. Got my boy Kel. Kel, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, the last one to the party, but they say the last one is always the best one sometimes. I appreciate y'all allowing me to come in these doors, you know what I'm saying? I know I had to get through security and everything, so I'm glad y'all allowed me into this thing.
A little bit of yard work,
Yeah.
We have a couple special guests. We have I'm gonna let her make her own introductions because it's too long. You know, I feel like I'll be giving the alphabet if I try to give all of her accolades and duties and things that she's done. Miss Minnie Pearson, can you give us a little bit of information about who you are? I wish I had some claps, you know.
Yeah, let me see your hand. Okay, just teasing. Yes. How much time do I have?
We got 2 hours.
Okay, I'm Minnie Pearson. I am the NAACP for the Champaign County branch here in Champaign, but it's for the county. I'm a retired teacher for almost 30 years at elementary school here in Champaign. I have many hats, basically. I've got my public service work started at the University of YWCA, where I hosted a number of Black Women Achievement dinners, you know, honoring women who have been trailblazers. I am a mother of 2. They're grown up now, and it's an empty nest, so that's a good thing. But let me go back. I'm originally from Greenville, Mississippi, and that's where I went to elementary school, middle school, high school, all Black school. And there's a plus to that, and I didn't know that until I came to Champaign, basically, and saw what the deficits were. So it was an advantage to going into an all-Black school all the way through high school. So I never had a white teacher. But the one good thing about that is most of our teachers, we knew them. They lived in the community with us. They went to the same grocery stores with us. We often went to the same churches. They knew our parents. And so we didn't have a lot of disciplinary problems. What I did not like about the South started out when I was basically around 6 years old, and it was time for me to go to school because I was born and raised on a plantation because that's where my dad worked. Now, I don't know how much time we have because I could go way back, and that is the foundation for me wanting to say to everybody in Mississippi at that time, y'all can hold me here until I graduate. But when I graduate from high school, I am out of here. Either you take me out of here, I'll get my little broom handle with my clothes on the other end, and I'm out of here. Because I knew that if I had to stay there with the mouth that I have, I might not have made it out alive, because there were things that I saw that no child should actually have to witness. Some of the things that I saw, and that was in the middle 60s and to the end of the 60s. I graduated in the middle of the 60s. So I had to get out of there, and I thought to myself, okay, where are you going to go? I graduated May 28th. No, I graduated May 27th, and May 28th, I was on a bus to Champaign, Illinois. See, I told you, I wasn't going to waste any time. My dad was a Southern minister. He preached the Bible to us, and it was this and it was that, but he never would tell us about racism. He never told us about when we were on our way to my grandmother's house, who lived about 35 miles away, that the things that I saw hanging from trees were not leftover Halloween decorations, and it was real people. So he didn't talk to his children about the things that he was taking a hit, because he was a working dad at a trucking company. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And so my brother and I would be in the back seat of this car. He always drove, I think it's a Thunderbird. I don't even know whether they make those anymore. But we would be in the back seat, and we would be driving down the highway, and I would see these things hanging from trees. And I would say to myself, and I look at my brother and I say, oh, they didn't even take down their Halloween decorations. And little did I know later on, it wasn't decorations, it was real people. So that was my number one. My number two is when we did move from the plantation, and we moved into town so that I could go to school, because there was no way they were going to let me go to school with white children, and that's what was near and around. So we had a wooden fireplace, and my dad would go to the plantation to get wood to burn in the fireplace. And so on our way home from that plantation, Miss Hazel's plantation, a white police officer stopped us. Well, to me, he was a cop. We called them cops. And when he stopped us, he came around. No, my daddy always told us, I'm the man of the house. I'm the man of the house. You do what I say, because I am the man of the house. Your mother stay at home. She takes care of you all. I'm the man of the house. I work. I go out and work. Little did we know that the punches that he was taking, the racism that he was taking, the knocks that he was taking to be able to take care of his family, took a toll on him. But on our way back from the plantation that day, we were all happy singing a doggone country and western song, Jimmy Crack Corn and I Don't Care, or some country stuff. And we were just singing our little behinds off when we were stopped by this cop. And he said, came around and said, boy, where did you steal this wood from? Did you steal this wood, boy? So naturally, me sitting with him rose up and swole up. And I told that cop, I said, hey, he's not a boy. He's a man. He's the man of the house. He's not a boy. And my dad, at that time, he had a toothpick that he made in his mouth. And he slowly turned around to me, did not say one word. He slowly turned around, and the look that he gave me was, shut up. So I sat back in my seat, but I was still swole, because he called my dad a boy, and my dad is not a boy. And I'm looking at him, because I'm not 2 minutes off of him again, but I'm obeying my dad, because he told me, his facial body language to sit back, and I did. But I rolled up my nostrils they were open. They were open like a little bull. I was, So anyway, he talked to my dad real rough, and my dad kept saying, no, sir, and yes, sir. And I'm thinking, why are you saying that to that man? And I didn't say anything. My brother, of course, he was younger. He didn't say anything either. My dad was so embarrassed, I could tell, and he told my dad, okay, you go ahead and go boy, and get a hold of your nigger. And I had never, ever heard of that word. So I looked around to see where the nigger was. And I didn't see anybody, but I didn't dare open my mouth because that's the message I was getting from my dad. And my dad pulled off. We headed home, where we were happy singing the song Jimmy Crack Corn and I Don't Care. On the way home from that distance, we never talked. He never said a word. I looked at him because I was mad, because I'm thinking I didn't know the word punk either. You know, I didn't know that word either. But I knew he was scared. He was scared. What, Daddy? I wanted to say, why would you, Daddy, let him talk to you like that? But in the South, children are to be seen and not heard. So I obeyed the rules. But when he got home, normally he would back up in the driveway. We didn't have a garage, but he would back up in the driveway, and he and the kids, we would just unload the truck, and we would be with our dad real happy. When he got home, he told us to get out of the truck. We got out, and I went in the house. My mom says, "Where's your dad?" I say, "He just pulled off." She says, "Where is he going?" I said, "I have no idea." But I didn't know that my dad was so hurt, so degraded, that he went, later on I found out that he went to the nearest liquor store to numb the pain. And when I think of it, even to this day, something rises up in me that makes me so angry that even back then, it hurt my dad. And it got worse and worse and worse because he drove Delta Motor Line at that time, which is now called Arkansas Best Freight, ABF. And with that, the person that gave him the job said, we're going to work and get you this job, but you're going to have to keep it. We can get you there, but you have to keep it. Well, over the years, to make a long story short, he took so many knocks, and we didn't feel it because he was out there in front taking it, and we were at home going to school doing what we were supposed to do. Mama was doing what she was supposed to do, and he would come home some days, and I could smell this whiskey. We called it whiskey because we had no name for brands or whatever it was. And he would sit on the porch, and sometimes we'd catch him crying. But he always went to work every day for 30 years. He'd go to work. But he ended up, because of all of the stress, everything, he claimed earlier in our lives that he had a strong faith in God. But apparently, God didn't do it for him. And he turned to alcohol. But he was what they call, I think, a working alcoholic, because he never, ever missed work. He went to work. He had to wear a uniform. He was built because he was hauling freight. But all of the white drivers had two people in the truck with them. My dad had one of those little wheels on him. That was the only thing that he had to help him to unload washers and dryers and refrigerators and things. And then not being able to relieve himself, go to the bathroom. He had to take provisions, a jar or something to do what my mom would fix him his lunch. Sometimes he would come back home with the same lunch because he wasn't allowed to eat it. So over the years, I was so angry with him that day because he never talked about why he did not tell that man. And at that time, we had a name for him. We called them, because in the South, they looked like peckerwoods. They had the sharp nose and the little thin lips. And I just that's the name Black people had for them. And he never told us and set us down to tell us why he sat there and let this man talk with him like that. So he ended up dying at the age of 63 from cirrhosis of the liver. And before he died, he called us in the room at the hospital, and he said, "Do you remember when we were stopped by the police in Mississippi?" And of course I do, because I will never forget it. And I said, "Yeah." And at that time, I knew the word punk, I knew the word chicken, I knew the word scared, I knew all of these names for a person who didn't talk back or didn't defend themselves. And he told me, he said, I could have got out, take the door and open it and knock him down and kick him in his blankety blank, but you would have been killed. I would have been killed. Your brother would have been killed, and there would have been nothing that was done about it. I did it for you. And that's when I released and asked him to forgive me for holding that grudge for so many years. I was here in Champaign at that time when I went back to his funeral. And I had to come home and tell my children, somebody called you by your name. What is your name? I named you this when you were born. You don't answer to. So I had to help them before they got of age where if someone called them the N-word or called them that, they would not answer and not even respond to it. So my background, why I'm in with the NAACP right now, is because that's where I'm needed. And when I am no longer needed and really young ideas and people that need to come in behind me, I will gladly turn it over and say, okay, it's time for new leadership. But right now I am the president and I am a different breed. I know racism. I know hurt and pain. I have seen lynchings out, and they, as quiet as they tried to keep me, when they did what they did to Emmett Till, I was the oldest in the family at that time. I would dust the furniture where I could hear what all of the older people were saying. So I knew all of the stuff that was going on, because I swore never to be caught in the dark again and be out there defenseless and not knowing what I'm dealing with. So I'm gonna stop now and let you all take over.
Woo, Lord Jesus. You brought up so many points in that introduction of yourself. That's why I said I can't even give you any justice by trying to introduce you and talk about the things that make up it's the Champaign County NAACP president, or is it beyond?
It's Champaign County, so we cover the counties, Champaign and Urbana in the county, which is the sheriff and things like that. But Vermilion County, that's Danville.
Yeah, man. So thank you. First off, thank you for sharing all of that, because that's not always easy.
No, it's not.
Drug that back up. But we and the community and our younger throughout all races need to hear that. They need to understand that this is trauma that has been placed on a community that you want just to kind of roll over on the cool side of the pillow. So we're gonna come back to a lot of the things you said. Valina. Wow, I hate that you have to back up. So, welcome, Valina. Can you give us a little bit about your background and what you do now and things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Miss Minnie, just to echo what Preston said, thank you for sharing that. My name is Valina, and my background is in social work, actually. That's what I did for about 25 years. Wide range from, foster care to intact, single parents, runaway homeless youth, that sort of thing. I was involved in it. And there was a shift that took place, which I could not have ever expected, to where I ended up serving within a church here locally in Champaign. And so that journey started off as serving as an outreach director, and then over the years has turned into a ministerial position where now I serve in one of our local churches as an executive pastor of our church here. And so, yeah, I'm a wife. I have 3 kids. So it's always a party here. And I'm really shocked that it's quiet right now. So That's what I do. I know Preston had wanted me to talk a little bit about the climate that I've noticed in Champaign and just the tension within the church body. I think during this season, hearts are exposed, emotions are exposed. I think that for many people who turned a blind eye to everything, even before my time that Miss Minnie referred to, even to now, I think that they're coming to realize, I hope they're coming to realize that we're fighting for an America that we've never seen before. And this is not a new fight, you know, it's an ongoing fight, fighting for something that we've never seen before. And I think the hardest part for people to realize is that there has to be a shift on both sides. When we think about white privilege, you know, whether you want to recognize it or not, there are certain benefits that they have experienced because of that, whether they want to admit to it or not. And so those are some of the things that need to be considered, that there's going to have to be a shift that they will need to sacrifice in order for things to truly come to what we're fighting for, I think. So for my role, I feel like the Lord has gifted me to create safe spaces. People feel comfortable when they're around me, opening up and sharing. And so I am trying my best to use my platform to create those spaces the best way that I can in COVID season. And so it's just a matter of just having conversations. Let's talk, you know, encouraging people to drop down just their defenses and to just ask the questions without fear of judgment or shame, and just know that the answer that they're going to get is going to be honest. It's going to be out of love, and love doesn't always feel good, but it may be what you need to hear, period. And so that's just kind of where I feel like I'm being led to try to help right now. That may change, but that's what's happening right now.
Thank you, Billy. I got to unmute myself. We're going to talk a little bit more about what you do on Mondays, or every other Monday now, right?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that a little later. I want to make sure I introduce Big Cuz. Marcus down there, you know, he just want to wave. He don't want to give his story because his story long too. Kale, I'm gonna let you kind of kick us off, man, because I'm a little emotionally full right now, and I'm gonna let you go with it there in Champaign County.
Well, I mean, I'm too like UP. I'm a bit emotional, and to have Miss Pearson here with us, and you know, giving us a snippet of her life for her introduction. You know, I'm very grateful that you're here. Very honored that you're here. I had the pleasure of meeting you a couple of months back. Me and Preston, we were at the gun violence forum at Parkland College here, where we were to talk to a panel of people as far as trying to come up with some you know, some answers to some of the issues that have been plaguing our community. But just to have you here and you know, on our show, you know, very honored and grateful that you're here. I know you're a busy woman, so you know, just definitely honored that you're here, as well as our other guests here too. So I guess just to kind of open up the floor here, with the season that we have going on right now, with the revolution, the movement. I just wanted to kind of throw it out to our panel here as far as, and Miss Minnie, you can kind of default and jump in whenever you like, because I know you've probably seen and experienced and lived it. But I know for us that are here in Champaign, and then for those that are not in the Champaign area, we always trying to get a temperature read as far as kind of what's all going on in our community. And I know I can speak for myself, being a police officer for 10 years, respectfully here in the area, when everything kind of kicked off, I was on vacation, so I didn't necessarily have to be out on those front lines, so to speak. But I have had the experience and the background of being out on issues like that before, at my prior department. So when I got back to work, it was kind of a how do I move forward now? Like what's the expectation? It's going to be kind of welcome with open arms. Is it going to be welcome with resistance? It's going to be coming with my riot gear on. Like it was a lot of different things that I had going through my mind. What I would say is this: that Hispanic community definitely stood up and has stood up, has stand up for the cause. Even though we've had some pockets of that activity that more or less doesn't fall directly with the movement, although it's part of the movement. Just to see the community come together as a whole, I was very proud of that, because when people really speak on the Champaign-Urbana area, even though I'm not from here, I'm a migrant here. I've been here for almost 6 years now, but this is home. But just to see the community stand up and to voice their opinions and to protest and rally peacefully, and to really get the word out there here in this community, and let them know that they are part of this global revolution. I was very proud of that. So just wanted to throw it out here to the panel as far as the others that are here. And like I said, I was on vacation, so I wasn't able to be on ground zero or whatnot. But for those who may have been, just kind of give us some insight of what all you experienced.
You waiting on me?
Well, so
anyone.
Well, I'm gonna jump in right now. So since we're broadcasting live on Facebook and we're on Zoom, do I call you Ms. Pierce? Do I be professional, or do I call you Minnie like I do when I see you in the street?
Call me Minnie.
All right, Minnie.
Yes,
So
yes.
I appreciate that, but you got to ask that, right? Because my mama watching. If I don't ask that, my mama, she's gonna be on my head, right? And I don't need her on my head.
I tell some of my students all the time when they say, Miss Pearson, how old are you now? I said, didn't I tell you 30 years that I was 32? And they say, still? Yes.
Absolutely. So the interesting part about what's going on now for me, Kel, as a retired police officer, I still kind of, my perspective is a little bit different than some people who's never had to endure the job, and I'm phrasing that like that for a reason. The doing that job is, you're blue, but you're still black, so you're black and blue, right? And now one of the things I was talking about is their feeling. And when I say there, because you guys, I'm no longer, I'm attached, but I'm no longer active. Feeling what it feels like to be Black in America. You feel that you're hated for no reason, for something that somebody else did. You feel that you're just doing what you think is right, which is what most of Black America is doing. in every city, in every ghetto. We're all the same. We're just trying to get by, right? They're feeling that, and how do I know? Because I still talk to them. I still hear from them. You know, my brother's still out there. I know what he feel. Cortezi, he ain't gonna talk publicly, but he feel that pressure, and he's a black male that does the job, that came from Inglewood, that is not kicking on people and stuff. You know what I mean? He's not doing it, but he feels the pressure of it. And so now he has to deal with being black and blue, because who do you go to talk to? You can't go talk to your coworker, because most of them don't look like you. So they've never experienced what he's experiencing. So how do you talk to somebody about something that it's like Minnie, it's like you talking to me about being a black woman in the 60s. I can hear you and empathize, and it can break my heart, but I have no idea what that's like. I can't even really say that I understand truly. And so that's the issues that I'm hearing from my African American officers, that from St. Louis, Wichita to, you know, Champaign, Urbana, you know, all these different places. They are feeling like, man, Mom, forgive me. I'm damned if I do. I'm damned if I don't. You know, they want to walk away. And the problem that I'm having with this is that if you walk away, now we're even further away from where we need to be, because we've lost the percentage, because we need to make our communities mirror, our police departments mirror our communities. But we're also putting so much pressure on them that they want to walk away. So I'm, you know, I struggle with some of the aggression of and the direction of some of the not the protest as it is, not that we don't need to protest, not that there doesn't need to be change, like sweeping change, but I just struggle with the way that people are voicing that they want it done when they've never done the job. So that's just one of my struggles.
Okay, let's look at it this way. Coming from where I came from and the age that I came from, people today they have a problem with Black people protesting. Is that what you're saying? And some of the things that's going on with the protesters, there's a certain amount of, you know, small minority of people that are going to misuse the protest and what it's for. Yes, that did happen and that does happen. But at the same time, I look deep and say, some people came there or were paid or infiltrated or saw an opportunity to get involved with something and do some damage and diminish or take away from what is
Trying to
actually
derail all the way across the nation.
And so
right?
that is what's going on now. But when people have a problem with protesters, let me tell you something. One of the reasons why the NAACP came to be was because of white people rioting against Black people, and they had the Springfield riots, they had the other riots, and anytime Black people would rise in economics or own property or own stores or own anything that took away from you going to their stores or spending your money with them, they had a problem with it, and they will burn and they will kill and they will run. So don't tell me crap about what Black people are doing. Black people have been talking about the things that white people have been doing to them for 400 years. Black people, when they came to Africa to get us, you better doggone believe they came and got the best, the brightest of us. We built this country We were knowledgeable. We were nurses. We were doctors. We were lawyers. We were teachers. We were scientists. We were that. And that's what they brought here. But they never, ever intended for us to rise for equality to them, because we the people, it wasn't we the people, it was them the people. And so they were never, ever going to accept a Black man and a Black person to be equal. So they did everything they possibly could. Every time you would own something, they would burn it down. They did, and then they got the nerve enough to say, I don't understand why they're burning down it and why they're doing. Well, we got it from y'all. But we have been talking for I don't know how long about how we felt. But we were seen as whiners. We were seen as chronic complainers. We were seen as, oh no, hon, it's not racism, because I know Black people, and your skin. Well,
they want to touch your hair and touch
yeah.
your beard and oh, can I touch your hair? How does that braid stay in there?
You go back, you look at all of the riots and all of the burnings and all of the things that have happened that they have done because we were rising in economics. Economics is the issue. The Jewish people, they have economic power. Come on now. Use that. They have economic power. So they don't like them either, but they don't touch them too much. You Black men, you beautiful Black men, you start to grow in numbers, that's a threat. That's a threat. Now, not all police officers are bad, but you're sworn to protect your fellow brothers, and so they get away with too much. And if you snitch, I know that, then you become a target. So it's a complicated situation. But the thing of it is the protesters would have been in a lot more dangerous situation had they not been integrated. Diversity. If you had went your Black behind out there just by yourself trying to protest, we would have been bringing home a lot of body bags.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Go ahead. No.
Yeah,
when they saw, they don't want to lose any white people,
right?
Because they need them. They don't want abortions, and I have my feelings about abortions too, but that's another story. They are feeling very, very threatened. They have always targeted, especially Black men, even when they started with what is it called, welfare or whatever, making sure that the man, he couldn't find a job, so in order for his family to make it, he would have to leave home and the woman could get, that's a way of dismantling families.
Right.
Back in the day when they used to snatch the babies from the women and take them and sell them or feed them to the dogs or do all kinds of unearthly, and they see you, even in some places, they still see you as not human. Because if they had put their knee on a dog and choked the life out of that dog, do you know that every animal rights person in this world would have jumped up and probably put,
it would be even a larger uproar, but it wouldn't be a lot of us.
Right, exactly.
Right? You know,
but the reason we got away with people are really fed up, and I really do feel like this is a movement, and I'm feeling pretty good about it, especially if we stay focused. Right. The protests set the stage. That's the stage. Now it's time for us to come to the table and lay our doggone demands down and say we will not quit until we.
Now.
And that's for y'all young people to do, because I'm getting up in age. But if y'all cower down.
I appreciate you calling me young. I do. It makes me, that's a die. That's a lot of, so we're gonna, if we can shift a little bit, but diving into that target, let's talk about action items, right? If we can get two, we're gonna go around the panel and Minnie, I'm gonna save you for last on this one. Belina, think of what are two things that we can do, like moving forward with our, as my dad say, our white brothers and sisters. What can we do moving forward to? I don't think it'll ever be even. I
Yeah.
just, you know,
Don't exclude our Asian brothers and sisters and
yeah, I don't mean to exclude anybody. I'm just, you know, for everybody, right? For all of us. What can be done? What can we do to get some real change in our system that's bigger than our,
Right.
you know, our local areas?
Right. The first thing that comes to mind is when Miss Minnie, I call her Miss Minnie, when
That's
she
okay.
when she made the comment, you know, not to cower down. I think it may not happen often, but what I have seen is when we have opportunities to be in a room, to sit at a table where decisions are being made about our lives, our children's lives, our neighborhood life. Like, don't deny that opportunity to be at the table. Don't allow fear to keep you out of the room or away from that table. Sit at the table. Like, even if you don't know, you're going to learn. Sit at the table. Sit there. And that's something that I see that happens often, especially with our Black men. For whatever reason, I feel like there's a lot of self-sabotage where they just don't sit at the table, just sit there. And then the second thing is, as emotionally exhausting as it may be, I think that it's going to be important for us to allow space for our brothers and sisters to ask questions. However, not to confuse that with it is not our job to make them feel comfortable. And it is not our job to necessarily provide them with a stream of hope, but just those that are hungry, those that want to know more information, just to allow them spaces to be able to ask those questions and for them to receive honest answers. Period. I think that's going to be, you know, a huge step. What they do with that information, that's on them. Like, we can't make them do anything, but at least we made ourselves available to tell them what they need to do or what they should do or what they should read, you know, that sort of thing.
Okay. Because Marcus, can you give us 2 action items, if you would, please?
Yeah, I'm with
You're pausing.
the education aspect of it. Any state. I'm still paused.
No, you're going.
I want to, I'm with the education aspect of it as well. Then I want to touch what Minnie stated. You and I are both here in Oklahoma. We're from Illinois, but May the 31st, 1921 was the anniversary when the riots, the Tulsa massacre took place.
Mhm.
That was the most wealthiest
Yes.
community for Black individuals around the, just period. So we didn't start riots. In 1921, that was the first time that uh, blocks were burnt down, and it destroyed, Black Wall Street. So
Yes.
it's a learned behavior. And I agree, it's not time to be comfortable.
Right.
I don't want someone to tell me that they don't see color, because I want them to see color.
Right.
I want them to see the differences, but I want them to embrace it. So that's an action item. Start embracing what is different. We shouldn't always be the one bowing our heads down and making folks feel uncomfortable. I think about having a conversation and hearing someone saying, "Oh, I was just yanking your chain." No longer am I letting that happen. You're not going to feel comfortable saying that. So you talk about what that alludes to and what we went through. So those are the two action items for me. You know, we have to remember where we came from. We didn't start, it started in 1921 on us. We were doing our own thing. We had our own community. And now we have to educate ourselves, get out there and vote, know what's going on. Don't let the media tell you one thing. You haven't done your research to understand what's really.
Thank you, cuz. Kel, action items, brother.
Yes, sir. I tell you, man, for me, what I would like to see, or what I would love to see is number one is that we take this momentum and we take it to Congress. We need to change the Constitution as far as the way that we are recognized, being 3/4 or 3/5 of a person. That's got to go. That's old. That's old terms. We need to be the equal part that we're fighting for, and it needs to be done in the Constitution. Because until we are recognized there, then they are going to continue to try to treat us as if we're less than that. So we need to push, continue to push with our movement all the way up until, Congress to get that change, that verbiage, that language, will that Constitution change so that we are recognized as people, not that fraction or percentile that they have labeled us for from the beginning. And once that's put into place, then I think they can't go until we're just following the law or we're just following the Constitution, because now we have a equal playing field as far as documentation, as far as what they consider to be the reference point. So we need to fight hard for that, through Congress and legislation in order to get that passed, so that old verbiage and language that they used back then does not apply now in 2020. Period. It does not. And then secondly, we as the Black community, we need to unite. We spoke about this our last show, P, as far as the Black community mending and healing amongst ourselves, because no one is going to come in here with this big yacht like Moses and bring two of us in. No one's going to do that until we are able to move mountains through our own community. Then no one else is going to take us seriously. And we have everything in our power, culture, style, essence. I mean, you name it. Everything we have, we have it. Trendsetters, regardless, we have it. Whatever you want to categorize, we have it. And so we have to take that. And so what I'm hoping is that, the entertainers, the athletes, the politicians, the TV analysis, whatever platform that you have, then you need to be speaking on this movement, period. Because like Sister Minnie was saying, we didn't have that luxury back in the 60s. I thank God I'm blessed enough to have my grandmother here to tell me some stories about what she lived through, as well as my mom, my mother. So, this is not too far from us, where, I know we say 400 or 500 years, but, we're talking, 60, 70 years. It's not that far past, where, we have members of our family in those generations that have lived through that, that has survived that. So, we need to, as a community, start healing and mending our own relationships, our own personalities and whatever beefs and stuff that we have. We need to settle all that, because, again, as many said, that we've been hunted. We have been hunted. So if we can't get along amongst ourselves, then no one is going to want to come in and help us. But if we're standing strong together, united, we're the most powerful thing on this globe.
Man. Woo. Manny, the reason I left you for last, because I knew a lot of people I knew we was gonna come with some good stuff, But you got a whole bunch. I've listened to you. I know. So I'm gonna give my little pieces. Kel, first off, Valina, I know you have a 7 o'clock. If you can like juggle between both, that's cool. If not, thank you for coming on, and you just let us know, right?
Definitely appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us too, Belinda. Thank you very much.
But I get your attention so you can talk about the Monday thing. So you hang around. So my first action item is to try to help some of the people who I have a relationship with that don't have a strong or any understanding of why the hurt is still there. Get close to not understand, because I don't expect for them to understand, because that's like saying, telling somebody who has 2 legs all their life what it's like to grow up with 1 leg. I want them to at least see and kind of have a baseline of the history, because they've never been taught the history. We get taught their history. They don't ever get, and I'm talking about, the European history. They don't ever get really taught the African history, what we came from. Now, there's going to get rocky here, and matter of fact, it's already rocky, but it's going to get real rocky coming up, and people are going to be closed-minded because they feel attacked. And my hope is to be able to kind of bridge that, as we've been doing for the past, well, most of our life really, but for the past 3 years, with the perspective is trying to bridge the gap, trying to do it through education. Education is not always in a book. Sometimes education is just like, man, pow, you that was stupid. You know what I mean? Pow. Why you know what I mean? Why you doing? Not physically popping them in the head, but you know what I mean. Your mama with that fan in church, pow. You know what I mean? Boy, wake up. You know what I mean? Those type of things has to happen to some of our non-African American brothers and sisters to wake them up. I think they are waking up. I think that there's a lot of them that are feeling the pain, but I need for them to understand that, the community still hurt, because the knife was stuck in 6 inches, it was pulled out 2, and now you want me to heal with 4 more inches of knife still in my back? The knife ain't been pulled out all the way yet. So how am I gonna heal? It's impossible. You can stitch it up around it, but it still ain't gonna heal. So if they, and I hate that it's us and them, but they could understand that piece, that the wound hasn't been healed yet because the knife hasn't been taken all the way out. That would be kind of my mission. Now, and I also want, well, this is more of a question. It's not really an action item. I still would like for people to do your part, right? If you are a strong rallier and somebody that can get crowds out and motivate them and keep them going, to keep the momentum going, you do that. If you are a strong speaker and you're good on the airwaves, and then you do your part that way. If you are in the pulpit, if you are somewhere, do your part. If you are just a straight scholar and yours is you're not
Did
a
he
public
freeze?
speaker.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, Preston, you froze.
I'm froze. Everybody froze. Minnie, move around. Let me see. Oh no. Am I back?
So, and I don't know,
Am I
Ms.
back?
Winnie, are you back?
Am I
He's
back?
back.
Okay,
I
we
think
can't
he's
we can't hear
muted.
you though. Your audio's off. P.
Is it back?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
What's the
Yeah, you
last thing
froze for
you
about
heard?
10 seconds. So,
You wanted to say we need to do our part.
Right.
We
Right.
never got to the part.
That if you're on the waves, if that's your
Oh,
platform,
Jesus, boy, I said a lot in that. Okay, so if you're in the pulpit and the pulpit is your area, then do your part there. If you're the rallier, I think I said that before I said the waves, do your part out there. If you are not a vocal speaker, you're not someone that can go out there and is comfortable talking to people in masses, then do it privately. Go to each individual. Hey, you know, this is what's going on, and help our white brothers and sisters understand that we're not trying to attack you. We're trying to make life fair, and you've been benefiting from life regardless of whether you was rich or poor. That Black people have not been afforded. And it's okay. I understand that it's uncomfortable, but I need you to understand that you have to give a little bit. It's in order for things to be fair and equal, you're going to have to lose a little bit. Not like lose height or lose necessary money. Just you're going to have to lose a little bit in order for things to get even. It's like it's like me coming to your house and saying, hey, cuz, I know you pay for this crib. And I know this your crib, you know what I mean? It may have been gifted to you. You know what I mean? This crib was gifted to you. But I need 3 of the rooms. How does that feel? Right? It ain't really about whether it's right or wrong. How does that feel? And because I've had things just taken from me. So I know how that feels. Even though, you know, it may have been the right thing to do to make things okay, fair, or whatever. But I was like, man, that's mine though. What you mean? I don't care whether I earned it or not, it's mine. So I understand the feeling, but it still doesn't make it right. So that's the other action. I want them to understand that part. Minnie.
Yeah.
I want to go to a break, but boy, I know you're gonna give us about 25 minutes worth of.
I'm gonna get your break. But the first thing, because it's hard for me to narrow it down because I see the necessity and the opportunity. A lot of the times when we, for instance, in school, when they said there's an achievement gap, doggone it, the reason it's an achievement gap is because you have denied us opportunities to learn. So now, come on, don't tell me, you know, that the achievement gap is because I'm not achieving. I'm achieving, but you don't recognize my achievements. And see, that's we got a problem. We have a problem. Okay, I'm gonna move on quickly. Number one is Black people, my sisters, my brown sisters and brothers, my Black men need to know their worth. You are valuable. Doggone it, stop buckling down and begging for what you want. You don't have to go out here and use these or use a gun or anything, but you start to change the doggone laws. Don't come telling me that your vote don't count, because if your vote didn't count, they wouldn't be trying so doggone hard to get rid of it. Now look, stop being a wimp. Let's put it nicely. I'm gonna put it quickly.
Come on now.
I'm gonna put it nicely.
Talk about it.
First of all, if white people, I love white people, but if they want to be a friend of mine, you got to hear me tell you how you make me feel as a Black person. And I'm not going to diminish myself, and I'm not going to let you diminish me, but I want you to listen how being denied something that I know I earned because we built this country. You could not have done it without us. There is no way that White House, when he put gates around, we built that doggone house. And you're gonna tell me that we can't come and blah, blah, blah. Okay, now I don't wanna go and tear it down, but I wanna be able to stand in front of it and protest peacefully. Now, second of all, I want them to understand that we didn't create this system. This system was created by them. And it should not be our total responsibility to fix it. Get your white behind up and you work with us to fix it. Simple. It's not rocket science. Come on. And I'm not gonna talk about how it makes you feel if you use a leg. I'm not asking for a leg. I'm just asking for you to get out of the way and quit telling me that I don't deserve to have what I know I deserve to have. And I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. But look, don't you do that to me. And I'll give them a hug or whatever. But this is what is going to happen. You are going to work to dismantle this system that you put in place. Now, you may not be the one who created it, but your ancestors did. And they denied. So now it's time for you to recognize that. And I don't want your house. I don't want your car. I want you to get out of my way. So when I go for a job interview, when I go for this, when I go for that, they're not gonna tell me you can't get it because you know, I didn't know. So your name is Minnie. That's not a black, is that a black name? Or your name is so and so. Well, I gave the job away. They just rented the house. Don't come tell. But I'm gonna start at the local level. I'm gonna start at the bottom, changing stuff. The mayor, the police department, the leaders, the state's attorney, those people. You start at the bottom, you work it. And you get people to work with you of all races, because it's going to take all of us to do that. Not just people who look like us, but somehow or another, before we do any of that, we have to get our people together. Okay, go ahead.
Woo! So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit into what our perspectives are about what should and could change in our justice system. This is a perspective. Power one of two.
And
uh-oh. Go ahead.
And we're going to talk a little bit about how our white brothers and sisters and Asian brothers and sisters and Latino brothers and sisters, what they can do to help out, because that's been kind of the new phase and approach. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break.
Yeah. Hey man, I found out God created us all equal and we all alike. So I got a right to celebrate something. Yeah, yeah. Look here now, look at my own. Listen, regular people, regular people like you and me. Regular people, regular people, regular people like you and me. Yeah. So many people walking around, they're looking for a way out. Say, brother, can you please help me out? But you just frown and walk away. And we spread love. All we need is a little trust. Yeah. He ain't heavy. Oh, no matter what race, creed, or color, yeah. Oh, regular people. Yeah, yeah, regular people. Oh, regular people.
All right, all right. We're back. It's The Perspective on Zoom, Facebook Live, Power 102 Jam coming up. Hits 107.3. We're getting it done. We're out here talking with Miss Minnie Pearson, the Champaign County NAACP president. We have our boy, as always, Kelly Walt, or Kels. I was about to get your whole name.
What up, though?
Yeah, we got Big Cuz, Marcus on the line, and we got Valina on the line. So, Kel, before we jump into our next direction of our topics, Facebook been blowing up, man. Can you go over some of the questions, comments, and things that's been going on over there?
Well, I've been trying to play kind of the back and forth of them, and I can't really see them so much like I have been prior to. But I know a lot of people have been tuning in with us and the comments, and some of the comments that I've seen have been responding to some of our conversation as far as Black people. Our community needs to really hone in and recognize who we are, as far as getting back to the root of it all. Who we are as the original people. And a lot of people have been speaking on Miss Minnie, talk about she's speaking truth, power, and saying sister, and things of those nature. So we definitely have our perspective following, and they're listening to us, and they're tuned in, and everybody's supportive for everything that we're saying. So everybody's like, hey, keep up the good work, because we out here listening to you guys.
So, okay, Kel, let's talk from the inside out first. Policing.
Yeah.
The system of policing, not the individual police officers, because this is the perspective, and we're not talking about individuals. We don't get into politics, and we don't talk about individuals unless it's a national story.
Right.
What are some of the things that you believe need to change?
First and foremost, man, accountability. I mean, due to the incident where George Floyd was murdered, let's not dance around that. Let's not tiptoe around that. He was murdered, flat out, on video. And there needs to be more accountability when officers act like that. Now, nationwide, there's been a lot of officers that, for the first time in my career, have ever spoken out, kneeled, gone on their own social media posts and basically tried to separate themselves from that particular police officer of those police officers in their actions, and that's a first, because it did really touch a lot of people globally. So I think for one, accountability. If you are out there, and let's just be honest, this stuff has been going on before George Floyd. This stuff has been going on before Breonna, Trayvon Martin. I mean, and unfortunately, the list goes on and on and on. But I think now, well, I'll say this season that we're in, because there's so much video evidence. It's overwhelming video evidence that, you know, there's nothing really to talk about. It's more or less, you see it, you dissect it, and now let's take action. And so I think, you know, once the department started acknowledging, like, hey, listen, we do have some of those, I don't really want to call them bad apples, because I know that's been a kind of analogy that's been kind of floating around. But when you have bad people that are police officers, and, you know, you have bad people that work at Walmart, you got bad people that work at McDonald's. I mean, it is what it is. They need to start, the departments need to start taking more actions as far as the accountability of whatever they do, because it's a liability. That's the same reason why they have us take a psych test and doing all these interviews and all these trainings and so forth. It's because the liability of it all. The departments don't really want to be liable. So when things come up to this nature, then it needs to be handled expeditiously. You know, let's not wait around a month or two. If you know what's happening and you get enough for what it is, let's start arresting officers. You know, if that's what they're doing, if they're out being reckless and savage like that, and they don't have any, you know, any regard to human life, then let's start addressing it a lot faster. We don't need for this thing to play out for 3-4 months in order for someone to come in. We need to start addressing these state's attorneys as well, because if they're cowards and they're not up to the calling of the job, where this is what they signed up for. This is why they went to school, and this is why they got to train, and this is why they got appointed. If you're not going to fulfill that position, then you need to be gone. You need to be gone. So like Minnie was saying, it needs to start from the bottom. You know, I think it needs to be probably a dual or triple threat. You know, from the bottom, from the top, and in the middle. You know, all aspects need to be addressed in order for change to happen sooner than later.
I think I did all of that, right? I think the accountability aspect now is, I think certain people who have infiltrated I can't even say, the culture of it's been messed up for a long time, right? So it's not, it's a, I was talking to somebody today, it's more of the culture of the policing is so jacked up now, to where we talk about accountability, but let's say we use somebody we all know, Anthony. Anthony wants to fire somebody for an action that wasn't, like, you know, the Minnesota incident.
Mm-hmm.
There is a progressive process that has to take place. Otherwise, he can't. The person's gonna be right back. I can't, because they're not all men. The person's gonna be right back. So it's not. I understand attacking it from all areas. We do need to attack it from all areas, which is why I say you do your part. Wherever you fit in, get in, right? But we also need to understand that the system is not set up to where you can just fire an officer.
Correct.
And that system is not set up at the municipal level.
That's correct.
So they cannot pass rules and say, oh, well, you can fire this person, because it's bigger than them. They don't have that authority. Yeah. They may think they do until they try it, and then they find out that it don't work like that. So the accountability aspect has to go up the chain. And up the chain means past the mayor. It means past, your governor. It's going to have to be a national pledge. And I'm not saying to hang you guys who are still out there out to dry if you make a mistake, though. You know what I mean? There still has to be some type of coverage for you to do the job. But if you're blatantly violating people's rights and it goes beyond the normal use of force, what's needed, there can't be that gray area at the top or at the bottom. It needs to be, okay, you within this line and within this line, there's a lot of space in between there.
Yeah.
But you if you do this, that's not a normal police tactic. But sometimes I know, because I was out there, sometimes you just have to respond because people don't act like we're acting right now. We're in our right mind. We're not on anything, and we're not trying to get away from anybody. We're in our peaceful. What's today? Thursday. Our Thursday evening relaxed mindsets in our own crib or somebody else's crib. I don't know if everybody at home, but we're not in the fight or flight mode.
Right.
So things will happen. It just the accountability aspect has to be there. If I mess up, if I'm speeding and the state trooper catch me because I wasn't looking down at my I had to use the bathroom and I wasn't looking down at my speedometer, I'm gonna get a ticket. I had to pee. Excuse my. I'm sorry, Minnie. I had to use the bathroom.
I know everybody pees.
I know, but I had to use the bathroom, which is my excuse, which is my reasoning. But I still was speeding, so I got the ticket.
Yeah.
So that accountability piece, and I think I heard Minnie yesterday during the coalition thing. You was talking about the transparency of the discipline. I'm a little, that one's kind of up in the air. Not that whether I was disciplined or not, but for a person to know, okay, I got. Well, I think it is out there though. I think you can. It's not easy to get to, right? Because it's in my personnel file, just like my HIPAA stuff, right? You know what I mean? I don't want you knowing whether I got AIDS or not. I don't. But you know what I mean? That's some stuff that I don't want you to know. It's personal.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you shoot somebody, if you've had aggressive use of force, those type of things, just like Kel, me and you were talking. And I don't want to say what you're saying, but my opinion on it is, if you have one of those incidents where you shot somebody, you was involved in a shooting, you had an extreme use of force issue, it needs to follow you. It at least needs to stay with your jacket. It can't I know the law doesn't allow it, the cities to tell the next city, this is what's in his personnel file, but maybe it should. You know what I mean? If I messed up in one department, I shouldn't be able to go to another department and join that department.
Absolutely.
I'm not talking about I couldn't get my geography right though.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So it's not you couldn't pass the field training portion of it. We're talking about if you have a record where you have had several excessive encounters over your career, and that is has been either an actual use of force, a shooting, killing someone. I mean something, and you are removed or released from their job because of that. Then that needs to be like a registry. I know we talked about this earlier, Pete. That needs to be um,
A national registry.
that needs to be passed on to the next department, because there's no way that if I wrongfully shoot someone as a police officer and this department releases me and says, hey, listen, you know, we are just not, you're too much of a liability. And I go, oh, okay, that's fine. Well, then I'll go over to Urbana or U of I or Tolono or whoever.
Florida.
Yeah. And they'd be like, oh, well, this is a ladder officer with experience. Come on in. With that baggage on me and them not knowing, that's a problem. That's a problem, because now basically all you're doing is you're just sidestepping kind of what your history is without that department knowing.
I got one more.
Go ahead.
Okay, I got one more comment, but I'm gonna save it until it come up because I know it's gonna come up within the next 3. So go ahead, cuz.
Can we touch on the accountability that you all talked about? You know, the 3 of us have been officers. I know, Kel, you're still on there. You know, I was a detective in narcotics and all of that. We think about when individuals, we say accountability, we've all had someone get away from us. They ran and they ducked through corners and dodged and all those type of things. It's almost now that it's a pride thing. I was okay with somebody running and getting away because it just made it a little bit harder for me to find them. But when I found them,
next time.
I found them.
Right.
Yeah, I get you next time. Nowadays, it's, you know, if you run, I shoot. You know, you're seeing officers, you know, shooting individuals in the back and those type of things.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Kel, that should go on the jacket. But
Yeah.
then we also have to talk about our end of that. So what happens when the individual who ran from me gets away and everyone knows that I'm chasing them because I've already called it in and all those type of things, and they kill somebody or they rape somebody? It all falls back. Now that accountability comes to me. So it's a two-edged sword for law enforcement.
Yes.
And there are things, you know, you alluded to it, because when you talked about the levels of accountability and fraternal order of police, that's there for good cops, good officers.
Yes.
Now, you can be a bad officer and abuse a fraternal order of police and get away with some things. And even if you didn't get away, you can still get paid.
Absolutely.
You know, so folks have to understand when they're going for the head of a chief that doesn't have the power to do what the citizens believe they can do. You know, like you talked about, that chief just can't say, "Hey, look, you fired." It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
There's certain elements that's going to take place in the background, and we need to educate ourselves. Even us, as you know, as a Black community, we're so quick to say, "Fire the chief, fire this, fire that, fire that." We need to look and see, is that the right person we need to be looking at, and who did what and how was it done, and start going there. Anything else, you know, it's a waste of time, and we feel like we're not getting justice. But the person who's pulling the string is not that chief and somebody that's in the forefront. The mayor doesn't even have the mayor can suggest that somebody get fired at that level, but it just can't happen without certain checks and balances.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with everything, you know, basically you all have said, but let me tell you this. I don't have a problem with police arresting people. Arrest them. But first of all, they are human, no matter what they've done, okay?
Exactly.
Second of all, I want them to live to have their day in court. Damn it, stop killing them.
Exactly.
Stop choking them. Stop taking the law into your own hands and then say, oops, well, he resisted. Well, sometimes you incite them to resist so you can fill the jails. And most of the jails and prisons are located in whose neighborhood? Who's benefiting from all of this? There's a whole gamut of things. Second of all,
You're right about that.
I don't think that every police officer is a bad police officer, but just like I tell my children when I come home, and if your rooms are not clean, everybody's getting a whipping. So somebody better tell me who didn't do what, dot, 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 dot. Okay?
Right, right. Yeah.
But the thing of it is this. I know about the police, what do you call it? The,
The
what is
fraternal
it?
order of police.
On the order.
Yes, absolutely. And there's that little secret thing going on. You're gonna support your brothers. But I'm smart enough to know that this stuff goes so far back, and that's most police officers, most police departments have some people in there. They get in there just so they can shoot your black butt, or they can kill your black butt,
Oh, no.
and they can stand behind a badge and say, he resisted, or he did this, or I fear for my life. I want to see the brothers and sisters go to jail. If they have to go to jail, take them to jail. Take them, but don't kill them before they get there. Maim them, and especially when they tell you they can't breathe. Somebody tell you can't breathe, and then let you stop. You don't finish the job right there, and you don't chase people down. It's a conspiracy. Police officers have got to start speaking up themselves. They're gonna have to start speaking up, and there is a reform. There should be a reform.
Yes.
Now, how it's done, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not gonna go in and say, but I do know that it needs to be reformed, because far too long, for as long as I've been on this earth and been able to comprehend, we shouldn't have to fear the police. They are to protect and serve, but they are the very people who are killing us. So now we're not killing them, because my friends say, many, all lives matter. Yes, they do, but we're not killing y'all. You're killing us. And when this man killed George, he was so comfortable. He put it in the broad open daytime. You did that in the broad open daytime for the world to see, and you knew you were being videoed, but did you see the look on his face? He looked like this is just a day's work.
He didn't care.
He had his
Not so
hands,
smart.
he had his hands in his pocket, and he had already made up his mind. This is not over until I say it's over. And that's the way it was. Where did he get that attitude from? Because he had done similar things or some things before, maybe in the cover of night, and it was on his record 8 times. Okay, so he could have been dismissed or fired, and he went somewhere else. So that's why we're saying, when a police come for, I don't have my notes in front of me, when they go to another job, their record should follow them. It should be known that they've got these strikes against that will stop that. But they feel very, very comfortable over policing in sight. And if someone comes up behind me, I'm walking away in a non-threatening way, I don't have any guns, I don't have nothing, and you grab me, I'm a woman, but and if I don't know you're gonna do that, I might turn around and start fighting. So that's resisting. They're smart enough to know what to incite, but to do what this man did, and then to have other police officers standing by and did not try to stop him. This man was a bully, and he had done this before, and he felt very comfortable doing it. I don't think he had nightmares. I think he had more nightmares when he found out that his wife left him than anything else. Because she probably said, what kind of damn monster is this? To do what he did, he was cold-blooded. Or he had a vendetta against this man before he put his knee on his neck, and he was gonna teach him a thing or two. But he went way too far, and it went where he intended it to go.
Ms. Minnie, he'll have the luxury also of being judged by a jury of his peers,
Right.
which we don't.
That ain't gonna be ours.
No, it's not. It's not. And then I understand that one of them is let out on bond. If that tables had been turned and you had done that to a white man, they would have, not your neck, they would have hung you by your toes. You would not. You would. See, there's 2 different things going on here. what I want to see is a police officer. I don't care what color you are. When you make an arrest, or have to come encounter with someone and you make an arrest, why are you killing them? Why are you hurting them? Why you have to beat them up? Why you choke? Even if they ran, you like you said, I know where you are. I know who you are, and I know where you are. This is a small town. I know where you are. Minnesota's not that small, but for a check forge thing, give them a ticket. Have them appear in court. But no, that was the day he had said, N-word, you're going to be dead. We're just going to see to that. You're not going to make it. This has been going on for far too long. From Mississippi all the way up, I have seen this kind of behavior over and over and over again. Take, for instance, myself. I have parent-teacher conferences. I'm going to my parent-teacher conference this afternoon at school here at Dr. Howard. And so I was a little late, but I happened to be in between. There's a car in front of me, I'm in the middle, and there's a car behind me, cop sitting on the side. And I couldn't go any faster than the car was in front of me, because about a car in front of me, about a car length. And I'm getting ready to turn off at Dr. Howard. He pulls off behind me and let the car in front of me go and said, you were speeding. Well, what about the white man in front of me? I didn't see it. Bull crap. You saw it, but you saw an easy target and you stopped me. And then not only that, I'm so well known in that community all around there, he got out with his hands on his gun. Like, for real? Come on. And so I looked at him and I said, so you going to pull me over because I'm going to school here and I'm running just a little late, but the car in front of me was speeding also, but you wouldn't stop that car, but you stopped me. I didn't see him. So I went to court. I was not about to let that go. And they dropped it, but it was my inconvenience to do that. Some people feel like, okay, you know what, I just go ahead and pay the ticket and then that reinforces that person to keep going. Just so happens his kid was in the room next door to mine. And I would have always done the right thing if he had been in my class anyway. I would have done the right thing. But until police officers can police the Black community the way they police their own communities, when you can treat your neighbor just like you treat me, I don't have a problem with police. I don't want to see my brothers and sisters killed for you name it, the time that they're gonna die. Right. That should be God's job. You taking over. If you treat me and police my community the same way you treat yours, we don't have a problem. But when you start over policing my community and inciting my brothers and sisters to resist, when you start carrying these big, huge guns to a woman who is holding her cell phone, when you start doing crazy things, that's where I have a problem. But there's been killings all the way up. When we first saw the first one was Rodney King. All of them, one little man laying on the ground and they wailing away. There should have been police reform right then. But it went on and on and on.
Yeah. Valina, do you have time to jump in? I know you double duty.
I do. We're good.
All right. So we're talking about what can change in the police department.
You want to know my thoughts on what can change in the police department?
Absolutely. As a non-involved African-American female from the church.
Right. So I guess for me, when I was listening on and off to everything that you guys were saying, and then Miss Minnie to what you were saying too, it brought me back. I started thinking about, as a child, how, and Miss Minnie, you knew my grandmother, Elise Milton.
Yes, I know your mom.
Yep. And so my grandmother, she pretty much raised me. And so she would make it a point just to make sure that there was a comfort level for me with our local police officers, right? So when the officers would come walking through the neighborhood, she would invite them in. I would cook for them, make them lemonade, like do all of these things. And so I think growing up, I had a very distorted comfort, or distorted level of comfort. But I think, looking back, my grandmother, I don't think, not only was she trying to, build up comfort in me, I think, low key, she was trying to protect me too. I think it was important for her, for them to know who I was, so that if anything ever happened, she would feel like that I was protected. Okay. So that's kind of how I see that now. And even with my own children, I try to do the same thing, because there is fear. Even where I sit in this community, there is fear when I get pulled over. And I get pulled over more than I probably should, because I be speeding a lot.
Oh, lead foot.
Oh my.
Let's go. But there is, even though, I know Anthony, I know a lot of good men and women on our local police force, there's still an element of fear, because I know what reality holds. And so for me, it all goes back to relationships. Like, I don't know what has to happen legally, but I know that something has to happen. When I got on the website and looked at the leadership team of the police force, when I looked at, and this is not, I don't know the individuals that are in these roles, but the folks that are supposed to be the community outreach force, those people, maybe there needs to be more people of color on that team. Maybe the director of that team needs to be a person of color. I don't know. There needs to be, just more relational opportunities to take place, so that way there is a level of comfort, but it shouldn't be jaded comfort where, I'm doing this so that my children are protected. Like, let it be real, right? And I don't even know how that could happen, but that's what needs to happen. Like, I cringe at the idea that I'm fearful, and I cringe at the idea that I have to try to make sure that officers know my children, so that if something happens, hopefully they will call me.
Valina, yeah. So I self-consciously did that. What you just said, made sure that my kids were known.
Yeah.
Attached to me,
Mm-hmm.
to every police that I ran into.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking back on it, I don't think I intentionally, but I know self-consciously I did that, because just like you said, when the police get behind me now, still, even when I was on the force, when the police got behind me, I got a little nervous. I don't sell dope. I don't do dope. I have a gun on me always, still to this day in the pew. I have a gun on me always, but I can legally have a gun on me. That was not a concern early on in the process, but it makes me nervous as well. So it's not just not because I think they're really going to do something to me. I think it's more about what can happen, not necessarily what will happen.
Right. Exactly.
And because I'm not, I'm short, but I'm not a little dude, right? And I'm not always, I don't always look like the nicest individual in the world, right? You know what I mean? I smile, I got nice teeth, you know what I mean? All that, but I'm not always smiling. Right. Sometimes I'm kind of, I'm focused on something, or Monique didn't put enough sugar in my spaghetti. You know what I mean? Or something, right? You know what I mean? To where I'm not balanced, right? You know what I mean? I'm not in my chi. You know what I mean? Or I ain't been to the gym in a while, and I'm feeling kind of, my testosterone is up. You know what I mean? And I think the fear is that they're going to take that stuff wrong. I was about to say something else, Mama. I'm sorry. I was about to take that. They're going to take that wrong, and view me as a threat. And I have a gun on me, so it makes me nervous as well. So I understand that, right? And when I was teaching kids, when me and Kel and because I'm sure you did it too, Minnie. I know you did it with Anthony and Glenn. I know you do it with your kid. Teach these kids on how to interact with the police. White people don't have to do that. But we're talking about things that need to, that I believe need change. One thing I expected you to bring it up, but you didn't bring it up. The shifting the funding to the police, not devaluing or removing, but shifting. But if you're going to shift, there has to be a reason, not just because I'm mad at you, like I'm taking my kids' allowance. There has to be people in place that's dealing. When I saw something like this earlier, somebody said this, so this is not. I thought about it, but this is not my original thought that just came from me. Not having them deal with the homeless population, not having the police respond to mental health issues, not having the police respond to just like truancy stuff. You know what I mean? Let's decrease, because what we've done, and from me being the police all them years, what happened was the police was never intended to be social workers. They were never intended to be counselors, right?
That's true.
So what happened? The police are always there 24/7, 365, 911 everywhere throughout the United States. People are dumping, when they don't want to deal with it, they are dumping things on the police. And now it's gotten to the point to where it was stressing me the hell out. Because I'm like, man, damn, why do I have to deal with all this? And I'm sorry, I'm kind of going there, but why did I have to deal with all this? Why I shouldn't have to deal with this, but I got to do it. You know, I just left somebody's. I just left a child sexual abuse, and now you calling me because somebody leaves blew in your yard. My mind is not right. I show up to this leaves, and I'm like, I don't care about your damn leaves. And it's all in me, right? The police should not be having to respond to stuff like that. You know, and if you put other people in place, shift it, they can still work with the police department, or they can work somewhere else in the cities. But shift some of that stuff to people who are supposed to be doing it. And I think this is all our perspectives, right? Because if we knew the exact answer, we'd be able to push a button and it'd be done. You know, the only person that really knows is the Lord above. We're just giving our perspectives, right? So my perspective is let's shift some of that to people that can help, but then you got to stop sending them. You have to send somebody else to those situations, and that's my piece. So, Kel, I see you itching.
And my two cents is that the job has been expanded so thin that there's only a couple of resolutions to your leaves being blown into your yard by your neighbors, or your cat is in a tree, or whatever the scenario is for police. It's either we're gonna write them a ticket, we're gonna take them out of the area, or we're gonna take them to jail. So when you start throwing humans and people into that, there's not a lot of good resolution to that. And so it's either this, or this. Because again, when you involve or you call police to handle situations like that, the departments are not equipped to handle this. Now, granted, we're moving to a time where you're CIT trained and to deal with all the the mental behavior and those people who are off their meds, and you have to be a psychologist, you have to be a marriage counselor, you have to be a firefighter sometimes. Sometimes you got to help people get in their cars. I mean, there's so much that is thrown on the shoulders of a police officer. And granted, we sign up for this.
Right.
We sign up to protect.
I signed up for it. Right.
Yeah. But protecting, serving, and being everything else outside of that, that's where you run into problems. And I'm not saying that's an excuse. I'm with you though, P. If you're talking about don't defund, because defunding means you're taking away from training, you're taking away from officers to be able to learn and gather information. You want to be able to bring other resources in to help out. Go ahead, Ms. Minnie.
And that's exactly what needs to happen. Let me go back first of all. As someone said, we need to start not just at the local level for police reform. See, the NAACP, I'm at the local level. There's a state level.
Right.
Then there is a national level. So we covering all areas. We are just that big. Right. I'm in Champaign County. Somebody else is in another county. Somebody else is in another county. And the way we see it and the way we do it for the state of Illinois, we are one NAACP, one Illinois. And so there are different local levels all over the state of Illinois, and we coordinate working with whatever issues there are in our state, and we touch base twice a month to see how things are going. So that's why with that. But I am not talking about anybody's leaves. The reason we are in an uproar now is because of poke holes, the press holes, the killing of Black people. Yes, right. You knew that when you signed up to be a police officer, but you should have been trained better. Training and sets the standards, leadership sets the tone, and it should be known. And I heard a military person tell his officers, the people that he says, I know that there are a lot of racism here, but if you cannot treat everybody the way you're supposed to do, then you need to leave right now. If you cannot do this and this and this and this and this and this, you need to leave right now. If you're gonna start calling people names, you need to. I sat there and I said to myself, if he wasn't married, I would like to marry that man, because he's laying it out right there what he will tolerate as it comes to racism. You can have your racism, but you're not gonna bring it here among our military people on this, I think it was on a ship, I don't know where. But I sat there and looked at this man. He laid the law down and he did not crack a smile. And he says, you need to leave now. And say, take your cell phones out and record what I'm saying. I'm not going to have you treat Black people A, B, C, and D. These people who are killing my Black brothers, they don't go stark raving mad. Now, yeah, they are stuck with a lot of things. And what I'm saying, I would like to see to relieve you. Now, they've cut everybody's budget that I know. They've cut lots of budgets, but they have not cut police budgets. So if we're going to get the resources and take them off the police, then we need to hire somebody to do those things for mental illness or for the homeless or for domestic violence or even somebody's leave or whatever. Or some white woman somewhere calling the police because this big Black African-American man is threatening my life. Oh. That kind of thing.
What was that, another Katie? What was that, Karen? Another Karen? Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying to you is this. I know it's hard. It must be really hard to be a police officer, but there should be not us against them. We should not be policing one group of people a different way than we police. I live in a neighborhood. Well, let me go back. Where I raised my kids, there were sheriffs, police officers in the neighborhood. They knew my kids because my kids played with their kids. And when my son got into trouble and he come telling me, he was at Centennial, he had this little motor scooter and he was proud and he pulled up to the stop sign. He didn't stop. He just kind of slowed down and kept going. The police pulled him over. Found out he was my son. Of course, he says, Mrs. Pearson, let me keep him for a little while. Scared the heck out of him. And they did that. And I let him do that. And he never got his butt in any trouble again. But they knew him. They knew his parents. But the thing of it is, if they had killed him, if they mishandled him, if they had hurt him, I don't have a problem with you taking them to jail. I have a problem with you killing them. And so that should not be happening. That's my uproar. That's my thing with
Do you four and our listening audience on Facebook Live have an extra 30 minutes in your evening that we can finish this, or do you need to go? If you need to go, you can go, but we need to have an extended perspective show today. Does anybody need to walk away? Kelly, I'm looking at you.
I don't need to walk away. I'm in.
But you think it's time to walk away?
Because we got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Before our show's supposed to end, and
but I can shut up. I can shut up. I can shut up.
No, ma'am.
No, it ain't about that.
No, ma'am. That's not what it's
about. No. Because it needs to be heard.
We need as much information that you can give to us. So no, ma'am. We're not talking about shutting up. We want you to continue our conversation here. What I would like to do, though, moving into the top of the hour here in the next 2 minutes is with, I guess, everything that's happened here over the last week and a half. There's been a lot of buzz about coming from people from other races, primarily white people, wanting to know, how do we get involved in this Black Lives Matter movement, or the revolution, or or support and love? How do they get involved? And maybe that's something I would like to talk to, that we throw out there, and we can talk to our panel here at the top of the hour. P, you got a commercial break for us?
I do. I got a short one. We've been talking about the kids, and I'm gonna go there with the joint called Little Ones. It's real short.
The lines have been drawn. The seeds have been planted. There are so many loves. Did we forget them? I think we did, but we just won't. And man, we forgot. This is dedicated to the little ones. She's that I've been lost along the way. From death to life, from the cradle to the grave. This song is for the little ones. Baptized in hate cannot be the fate of man. Told you yes, that love it has a plan. If we just follow, yesterday is gone, but tomorrow still to come. You know that faith is in your hands. So I'm saying that this is dedicated to the little world. A seed that has been lost along the way. From death to life, from the cradle to the grave. Yeah, this is dedicated to you. We need a chance to choose. So they need a chance to choose. Hope for the future. Something to believe in. Someone is crying through the night. Tell you I didn't forget you. Everything will is dedicated to the little world. Sees that I've been lost along the way. From death to life, from the cradle to the grave. All this is dedicated to the little world.
We're back at the perspective. Look like we had a couple bathroom breaks, but we're losing too many. Even the grown men that we've lost, grown women were lost with a little one to somebody. It's just we got to do better, people. We got to do better. We got to do better, and we got to do better. So Kale wanted to dive into Belina. Are you still with us? I see your camera's gone. So this leads right into actually what you're doing. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So earlier I had mentioned how I feel like the Lord, just one of my gifts is just building bridges to connect people. And so I'm trying to use that gift along with my platform to just create a space where people feel comfortable asking questions and receiving honest answers. And so just a place of, mutual respect where questions can be asked, not being concerned about feeling judged or just being fearful, but also knowing that your questions are going to be answered honestly and out of love, and that love doesn't always feel good, but it may be exactly what you need to hear.
So when are you having these, and where can people tune in and join?
Yeah, so the next one is scheduled for Monday, the 22nd at 7 p.m. Central Time via Zoom. There's a link on my Facebook page, Belina Claiborne. It's a public post where you can access the link to be able to register. You can share the link. So then you can just hop on there.
Okay. So your next one is?
The 22nd of June.
The 22nd of June at what time?
7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Okay, and they need to go find your page.
Yep, it's on my page. I think.
What if they're not your Facebook friend, though?
It's okay. It's a public post, so they do not have to be my friend to see that post.
Okay. I think I tagged you. Can you add it to our Facebook once you add it to our messages on the Perspective Facebook page? We appreciate that. Cuz gone. Kale, you want to dive a little deeper into different ways to have conversations with our brothers and sisters of other races?
Yeah, man. So I don't really think it's an issue. I like the opportunity to be able to have that dialogue with our white brothers and sisters in Asian as well as Latino, because there seems to be a lot of misinformation that have been passed along generation through generation via through these other races, where when Black people speak on Black Lives Matter, they just think that it's just Black people who are fighting for a cause. But in actuality, the Black people took the stance for everyone, for Asian Americans to come in and do their thing, as well as open the doors for the Latin population. So we're all in this together, the Black and brown people. But I do like the opportunity of being able to have that dialogue with those people, those white people who are really supportive of the Black Lives Movement, or just just supporting Black people in itself. And I think the first thing is just acknowledging if you know, if they know that they can see that there's a problem, and they acknowledge that, and whether they choose to use their privilege, through whatever platform they have, I think that's a start. But I also believe that having a conversation with a Black person to say, hey, listen, I didn't know, because from what I've been seeing via social media and the news reports, as far as white America saying that they didn't really understand the pain, or they didn't know in depth kind of what our Black people were going through. Then now here we are, 2020. Now all of a sudden, their minds and eyes are open. So if they're acknowledging that, and they really want to, get into the movement and supporting them, let's start having these tough conversations. We should have had these probably, many years ago, but we're here. It looks like now, with everything that's unfolded, when people seen George Floyd being murdered, I mean, on recording, man, I think that really kind of touched people's hearts and souls, and maybe that's flip the light switch on them. I don't know. I'm not trying to speak for them, but maybe this is an opportunity where we can sit down now and like Belinda was saying, come to the table, represent us instead of somebody else coming in and represent us. We have those conversations with our white brothers and sisters, and really kind of explain what all we've been through. We're not trying to take what they have. We just want our equal share as far as being part in history of America.
I like how you and Minnie put that earlier. That we don't want to take from you. We just want opportunity. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? I love that. And see, I love these type of situations, especially speaking to people who are intelligent. Even those who aren't, I still gain something from them, right? I mean, I hate to say people are stupid, but I still gain something from them, right? And I add it to the toolbox to be able to move forward. And when I have contact with somebody else, and I have this conversation with my majority white coworkers who genuinely seem like they care, but they care about a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? Where I work, it gives me like strength and items in that toolbox to be able to pull out, to put onto them, to try to help them understand so that they can be a stronger ally, right? Minnie?
I'm fortunate that, first of all, it's really hard being the first of everything.
Yes.
When I started teaching, I was the first Black teacher in the building, and I thought it was so crazy. It was every day. It was like I was under a microscope. I was the person to go to say, hon, I'm just afraid of Black people, but not you. I'm not afraid of you. Black people, but it's not you, honey. Hon, I want to invite you over to my house. I want you to come to Muhammad. I want you to come to Monticello, because I want my family to meet you. Sweetheart, and my name is Minnie. I'm a grown woman.
Yes.
Call me Minnie, or call me Miss Pearson, or call me Miss P. The thing of it is, I've been in that situation.
Yes.
And I am not under a microscope. And then to have teachers, parents come to me when we're supposed to be talking to their children about the progress of their child or the lack of. So, hon, where's about do you live? Did affirmative action get you here? Da, 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 da.
Jesus Christ. but I feel you. It's sad that we have to hear this, right?
We always drove nice cars. Hon, is that electric 225? Is that your mom's car? What does your husband do? Blah, 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 blah. So finally, one day I decided I'd come into the teacher's lounge and I put my hands on the wall and I said, okay, come with your questions. Come on, crucify me. Kind of shamed them a little bit, so they kind of backed off. But then it was that thing of my friends. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have the kind of friends now who know about racial justice, who have had racial justice workshops, who have talked about what racial justice means, talked about the disparities between the Black race, brown race, all of that. They are doing that. They are talking about it. And they are, in fact, a lot of them, honestly, know more than we do about us. They do. They know more about us. Right? Yes, they know more about us than we do. And these are, they read books about us, everything. They know from the very beginning how they use the schools and the Black ministers who couldn't really do whatever they're supposed to do because they didn't want us to know the Bible as well. Just a whole lot of things. So they know more about us than we do. And so I have no problem with them because they can tell me right today what is wrong and what needs to be done. Because they created the system, it's woven, it's a systemic system across the board, institutionalized racism, they know all of that. But there's a small minority that feel like, I worked hard to get who I am. My dad, he was a punk. Your dad, they came here, killed off, they gave the Indians and Native Americans, diseases. They brought us here to be slaves. They beat us until they gave us their names and it cut off. We had a very healthy culture. They cut all of that off. White people already know that.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that. We thought, I ain't never been to Africa. No, that's part of your problem. Most white people been to Africa and they know. But the thing of it is that I'm fortunate enough now to have white friends who actually know what the problem is and are willing to roll up their sleeves and work with me. What I ask them to do is don't speak for me. Ooh. You know what the issues are. Ooh. But don't speak for me. Let me speak for myself.
I got a question, Benny. About 4 years ago, I know you're more than aware of the whole Colin Kaepernick stance on police brutality and the injustices and everything involving Black men and women being gunned down. And I don't know how much you follow that or not, but here we are now 4 years later, and I know the narrative then was about the American flag, saying that he disrespected the flag by kneeling, and a lot of people outside of our race took offense because they thought that Colin Kaepernick was kneeling because he wanted to disrespect the military and the flag. With your history, ma'am, I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people don't realize that we Black people fought in those wars as well. But even when we were slaves, in order for America to be free, we sent our Black men over there to fight this war, even though they were slaves, for this country. And once they survived that war and got back to this country, they still didn't get the recognition of being free. So I wanted to ask you your insight on that.
Okay. In the South, this Black man had just gotten back from the war. He was in uniform, went into a gas station where the bus stopped just to get a cola. They saw him, and apparently he felt like he had arrived or that he would get some kind of respect. They beat the crap out of him, with his uniform on. It doesn't make any difference. Black people have always fought for this country in the military. They were not allowed to come up through the ranks, and you know all about the Tuskegee Airmen, okay? The Tuskegee Airmen saved a bunch of their buttholes, and you know what? They said, we don't even want to publicize that. We don't want people to know that they were flyers and they could do this, because it was always once said that we couldn't fly airplanes. We couldn't do this. So it perpetuated all these lies. Black men have always been a threat in this country. Just merely because you're Black, you've been a threat. And because of that, sometimes police officers themselves jogging or going someplace, and they will stop and arrest you and bait you, and you can say, I'm a police officer, and you got to show all kinds of proof. You got to do all kinds of things. Police officers, doctors, lawyers, even famous people. You go into stores, you treat it differently. But police officers, they see a Black man first, and they respond to that. That has always happened, and that needs to stop. Basically, it said, now I don't know whether this is true, this is on Facebook. Black men and other police officers show up at a crime scene. And so it was at night, and there was shots fired. And the Black man, went around the houses, looking for shell casings. White woman saw this Black man around looking for, and she calls the police on the police.
Ooh, I got something to say. As soon as you're done.
And so, and this doctor, he's getting ready to, because of the COVID, he's getting ready to load up his truck in front of his house to go out and service the homeless. Police officers zoom around there, see this man, loading his truck. Naturally, is he a Black man? And he must be stealing, he's a thug, he's doing something. Assumptions, perceptions, all of those things are built into this system. They don't trust you. All we're asking is that we be policed with respect and treated like they would treat their neighbors. One of the things is police don't live in our neighborhoods, so we don't really get to know them as well as we would like to. They don't get to know us. And when they do, they want to come over and shoot a couple of hoops and put up for a photo op, and that's fine. But until they can see us as human beings, that you can stop me and ask me questions, and and that's one of the reasons why we try to get people to interact with the police officer, the students, and Chief Cobb and myself, we did that. We went to the middle schools and talked with three different grade levels. We went through the high school and talked with that, and we went to the driver's education classes and talked with them, and we educated them on how to interact with the police. So that was our thing. We did that. We offered to go to Central. The school district didn't think that was necessary, and I think that was a disservice. But until our children can leave home, and they're going to be children. Children are children. If they walk in the middle of the street in Garden Hill, there's no sidewalk. Don't harass them. Say to them, I know your mom, I know your auntie, I know your grandmother. I'm gonna tell her you're not, stay off. When a car comes by, you move over. You do those things as a police officer. You don't just bait them until they disrespect you, and you disrespect them. You talk to a Black man like that, he gonna feel slight. I mean, I'm a man, you can't talk to me like that. I don't talk to you like that. And they don't want you talking to them like that until they police our communities the way they police their communities, until they see us as human beings. Military, it doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter whether you are a lawyer, whatever. If you Black, you Black. They don't say, well, he looks like he could be a lawyer. Or let me tell you a thing I did, a little experiment. Let me see the time. Real quick. I did an experiment with the schools to teach my teachers about quit using perception. I mean, trying to assume they know who people are. I had Anthony Cobb before he became a chief. I had Trace, no, it wasn't Tracy Parsons. It was Reggie. It was 3 black men. I had 3 black men, but Anthony Cobb was one of them. He was a police officer. And I told him, I said, I want you to dress in a suit. I want you to dress in your street clothes. And I want you to dress in just, whatever you were. Anthony came in that day with some real nice pressed starched jeans on. Somebody came in with a suit and tie. I think it might have been Cleveland Jefferson. I'm not quite sure. And the other person came in. So I had those 3 men come up in front at a teachers meeting, a teachers lounge, and it was a teachers after school program. And I say, now, who if you were walking on the street and you saw this man, what would you think? The first thing they said about Anthony, God. And then I had him tell who he really was. He wasn't in a suit. He was in his regular street clothes, like he would be if he was hanging out with you guys, Right. But you still can't assume you know who he is just because he's dressed a certain way, or So when I gave all 3 of them opportunity to say who they thought these men were, and each one of them was wrong. The guy that with the suit on, they said he was a lawyer. He worked for the Urban League. Got it wrong. Each one got it wrong. Perception. When they see us, military or what, they don't want you carrying no guns because they know what they've done to you, and they don't want you to have guns so you can turn around and do it to them. But we're killing more of us, and we don't kill them, they kill us. Yeah. So military, it doesn't matter whether you've been in the military. It doesn't matter where you come walking down the street in a suit. You still, to them, you're a black man. You are a black man. And white women have learned to play the card that if you look at me wrong, or I can cry this and I can cry that. Not all the time, but they have that option. We have to be careful. Military, even today, military is very segregated. You look at Chicago. I used to think Chicago was it. You will get to Chicago, I'm free. Went to Chicago, is more segregated than the South is. And sometimes Black police officers in Chicago is just as bad as a regular police officer. But I guess in a certain degree they have to be. But anyway, I'm done talking. I understand what you're saying, military. I understand this, I understand that. But my problem is I want to be policed the same way you police people in your community. I want to be looked at for who I am. I have worth, and Black lives do matter. And I'm not saying that all lives matter, don't matter rather, but I'm saying we're not killing y'all, but you are killing a lot of us, and it's more evident every day. So now my white friends, they can see now. And so they are willing to talk even for me, but I say, pump your brakes. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being aware. I appreciate this, I appreciate that. What I want you to do is go back to your white communities who have not had trainings, who have not done things, and talk to them about what I know that you know. Because it's going to take you to talk to them, to tell them, you know what, we've been wrong about this. We have to change our paradigm. We have to change hearts. We have to change people's ways of thinking. You let them do the talking. I will work in this direction and do this. At my level with the NAACP, I'll work at the local level. Then my sisters in the state, Springfield and around Rockford, they work. And then my sisters and brothers, national level, they filter out everywhere. So we got the bases covered, but what we need people in this community, especially ministers, and I appreciate Valina doing what she's doing, but I tell you one thing, our ministers need to be ashamed of themselves. for not working and speaking up. They got to come out of the pulpit sometimes, and they got to approach, and they got to walk around and get to know these youth. They need to talk to them. They got to talk to these young people. You don't have to preach to them, but you need to make yourself available to them. You need to be around them and talk to them. All of them are not bad people. They make some poor choices, but they can be corrected. They're worth it. They are worth it. Their lives are worth it. That's why Black Lives Matter. But my white friends, I ask them to go back to their communities and work with the people there.
So we have 3 minutes left. I know, Kel, you want to jump in, but man, this was such a powerful episode or a show or just conversation. You know, I can't even call it a show or an episode. The conversation is so powerful that you know, I'm proud to be involved in this, Minnie. I appreciate you having the care for me to even come on here and be willing to share.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because you could have said, nah, Preston, I got bigger things to do, right? Yes. You know what I mean? You're like somebody said last night I ain't gonna say no names, but during the thing, he ain't even part of our community no more. I still own a house there, but you know what I mean? I you know, right now I'm doing other things. So, Kel, normally we would close out with closing remarks. I think we've given a lot. I want to get this last song on before we end. We're gonna end with Black on Black Skin. If man, please stay with us. Minnie, thank you. Belina, thank you. Because thank you. Kel, as always, my brother, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and get this going. We're gonna end the perspective like this.
Let's walk to heaven. She never felt nothing like this before. Passion is feeling, baby, it's real, yes it is. I want you to explode once more. Shine through the light, rock me through the night.
I forgot what the song was about.
Check us out. You have to Perspective 217, Facebook, Instagram.
Black on black skin, your love is everlasting. Standing here so, your love is just so beautiful. Black on black skin, your love is everlasting. Standing here so, your love is just so beautiful. Turn out the lights, love, some candle wine and lies me. That's the perfect recipe for us. Oh, baby, black butterfly, the sweetest little melody, the one I want right next to